CalazCon is a show about war, obsession, colonialist occupation, and the many forms of violence those inflict. See the description for content warnings specific to this episode. Good afternoon, Major Standing Stone.
Good afternoon as well, Mom. It's a real pleasure to be speaking to you.
Likewise. How would you judge each pilot's performance since CalazCon's arrival?
I would say, no complaints from me, really. Under my auspices, my guidance, I think that we've really shown how the DFS can bring a group of diverse, ragtag individuals under challenging circumstances from a wide range of backgrounds to put aside their differences and come together for the cause.
I see, but I did not ask about the squad as a whole.
No.
How would you judge each pilot's performance since CalazCon's arrival?
Well, I would say that each member has performed admirably. Julius, Ipse, True, and Mike have each excelled as part of a whole. And, well, that's sort of the point I was making, really. It's so hard to disentangle such a cohesive unit, isn't it?
Major Standing Stone, are you aware of each of your pilot's capabilities?
Of course. Yes, absolutely.
Then what are each of their strengths and weaknesses?
Well, I would say that they're all quite capable and resourceful in open combat, but there may be occasionally some, each of them has their own personal tensions that they struggle with. I know that True, au pair, they have their personal, intimate family life to consider. Ipse and Julius, things are never exactly smooth. Any weaknesses are more psychological than and social than strictly practical.
Noted. What are your suggested future actions for them? Such as transfers, promotions, things to keep an eye on, and so forth?
I think that as a unifying driving force of the team, Ipse has really excelled themselves and could be considered as maybe even when I've moved on to greener pastures, maybe even perhaps my successor in a sense. I think that the squad has made a spectacular proof of concept and could and should remain operational. I'm aware of the concerns lodged regarding Julius, pallbearer, Thermidor, and as unwarranted as I feel they may be, I believe that the current configuration is the ideal equilibrium for that whole situation.
I see. Now tell me about the satellite.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to CalazCon. I am your GM, Elspeth, pronoun she, her. Today, I'm joined by Sabriel.
Hi, I'm Sabriel, pronouns she, her. You cannot find me online. You will never be able to find me online.
And Philo.
What's up, gamers? My name is Philo T. Hazard. I use the they and the them pronouns in this show and other pronouns in other shows, and that's how life works sometimes, and you have to be at peace with that. You can find me at Philo Hazard just about anywhere you care to look. If you like tabletop games, you have great taste. Also, I assumed you are because you listened to 9 previous episodes of this campaign or whatever. But if you like this tabletop game in particular, and again, you've already listened to at least 9 episodes of it, then you can find my Beam Saber supply drops at philohazard.itch.io.
Right.
If this is your first time tuning in, you're weird, and I respect that.
Yeah. Maybe you're just listening to random episodes. That's kind of powerful of you, so.
Put that shit on shuffle.
CalazCon Onion Listen Order.
And also Don.
Hi, I'm Don, and my pronouns are he and him. I have no other information for you right now.
Great. And finally, Matt.
Hi, it's me. It's Matt. Pronouns he and him. You also can't find me on the internet, but you probably could if you really wanted to look, but don't. I guess. Or maybe you do.
Anyone got that fucking image of Mads Mikkelsen saying, "I simply am not online"?
No, I am online.
Do not look for me.
I just do not have a solidified online presence.
We'd also like to thank our squad sponsor, Lily Young. If you'd like to financially support the show, you can find our Patreon at patreon.com/CalazCon. Okay. We open on a sort of wide shot of your forward operating base, the end of the line, as the sun rises in the background across the river. And then we pan over its grounds, pockmarked by artillery shells, to see the looming spectre of the colossal mech Goliath in the distance, surrounded by what against the sky looks like a swarm of insects, occasionally sort of bright lasers issuing forth from it and scorching the sky. And it's against that backdrop that we see one of the garage doors at the end of the line side open, and Board Squadron begin to load up their vans, their APCs for what lies ahead. And as that happens, we hear a voice begin to speak. And it says, "Dear comrades, having watched over your preparations and training, excellent work, by the way, Ipse and Julius, I know that you are ready for the historic ordeal that faces you. Still, I thought I might offer one final briefing, for purely sentimental reasons. As you know, 2 armies are facing off against Goliath in mock combat, the Hope of Calazar and Horizon Blue. They each hold a self-destruct key for Goliath, with Goliath itself holding a 3rd. All of this is so Goliath can be rendered vulnerable and destroyed in dramatic fashion once CalazCrush's grim spectacle has concluded. Your mission is to retrieve the keys from Horizon Blue and the Hope of Calazar and trigger that dramatic finale prematurely. At the same time, the 86 will be working within Goliath to acquire its key. Once all 3 keys are primed, Goliath will become vulnerable, and you will be tasked with delivering the final blow. I know that you, my loyal squad mates, are more than up to the task. While I have unfortunately been summoned away on other vital DFS business, I will struggle to stay focused amidst thoughts of your bravery in the face of peril. However, I know that as my heart burns with the lofty ideals of the DFS, so too do yours, and with that fire, you shall outlast the dark night ahead. Yours sincerely, Renee Standingstone."
Does the camera cut down to Birdie and Board Squadron just doing the wanker symbol as he's saying, "I'm not going to be"?
Yeah, it's gotta.
Yeah, and we also see you, one of the, putting down this letter or like crumpling it up into a ball or whatever as the squad stands in Renee's now vacated office, having picked this letter up off the desk. Your rules of engagement are maintain the terms of the ceasefire, do not allow Morn Martha to come to harm, and no threats or use of force against civilians.
Remind me on Morn Marza again?
Morn Marza's our bestie from the Hive?
Yes, who arranged your meeting with a member of the Serpent's Fangs.
Right.
So, you have your mission. What's the atmosphere like? What do we see in this bare office? Like squares of fresh paint where there used to be pictures on Renee's wall that have been taken down.
Julius is in the best mood that anyone has ever seen him in.
That's a red flag.
Mike is also, he's got a very nervous energy. I think he's probably even like, he's got like a small engineering device, like it's something from an ORV that he's just fiddling with, like something in his hands to do, but there's definitely a level of like nervous energy about him. Like he's feeling confident, but also looking around at these walls of all the things taken down. It's like, this doesn't necessarily show he has a lot of confidence in us, does it?
I'm not surprised, but I am a little disappointed.
You'd at least think he'd leave them up and just be like, I got called away at the last minute. This does show a certain amount of, pre-planning, which I think belies the tone of his letter, but I guess we'll just have to fucking show him wrong then, won't we? Because I certainly intend to have that big fucking thing knocked down by the end of today.
He is irrelevant.
Where would you like to start?
We gotta beat up a bunch of different guys.
That's a great point, Julius, but we gotta beat up these two specific guys first, while simultaneously minimizing and avoiding getting crushed by that giant fucking Goliath. That
was out of character, but I like the idea of Julie saying we have to beat up a bunch of different guys, so fuck it, leave it in. Julius is good in his good mood. He wants to beat up a bunch of guys.
I mean, I assumed that's what it was.
But yeah, we need to split the party, yeah? Because there's two... Oh no, they're two different machines, not two different squads. Okay, well we should split the party in a smaller sense and just get one off of each.
Yeah. I guess we should probably try and find out a little bit about these two other mechs that we're going after, right? Because it's specific. It's the Hope of Calazar and the Horizon Blue that we're dealing with, right? Whilst the 86 handles Goliath, right?
Yes.
We got to do the final blow.
The 86 are going into Goliath. We may still have to tangle around the outside.
A final blow needs to happen. We've sort of agreed to let the Serpent's Fangs do that. We've told them that we're going to let them do that, at least, given the discussion we had last mission. Whether or not we actually do, I think, is probably going to come up during play, and we might be able to have, because you'd mentioned Board Squadron there as well. I believe the case was they're still in the spaceport, right? And whatever final blow thing they're planning on doing involves something at the spaceport, right? That was what was said last time.
That's the impression you got. I don't know if you got any more specific information.
Nah, yeah. But that sounds like some information we could get. Because we've got the tunnels underneath the spaceport. We can put Board Squadron underneath there. And then oh no, something's happening at the spaceport. We're good and loyal members of this coalition. We can send in our troops to help support you. And then, we can see what happens. But
yeah, we gotta not let them look good.
Yeah.
Or ideally live.
Or at the very least, because I was thinking about this as well, because Julius and Mike did spend drives to help this coalition happen. So Mike, having slept on it, is we can't overtly just betray them. That's gonna go against what we were putting ourselves for before. So we need to have at least some kind of cover story if we do go in, yes. Especially if it's to be helping them. And I think there's also a degree that Mike believes, even if they do get the final blow and try and change public opinion broadly, as long as the DFS know that it was actually us, this supports our plan well enough in terms of making ourselves look good, right? But there's still something that really sticks in his craw about the Serpent's Fangs getting anything out of this. Even if he does believe...
The ceasefire goes on until Goliath is dead, right?
That is the, literal letter of it? Yes.
Okay.
Interesting.
So after Goliath is dead.
Yeah. I mean, That's a risky plan. If you try to capitalize on that, it could very easily be construed as like obeying the letter but not the spirit, and it would be up to how it goes in the moment, whether that ends up being interpreted as breaking the ceasefire regardless, if you like wait until the earliest possible moment to jump on them.
Mechanically speaking, what happens if we break our ROE? Like, we are not playing Beam Saber.
We lose trust. But it will probably be narrative.
Yeah, because the characters don't know that.
I will try to find a way to make it matter, yes.
Right, okay. Yeah, right, of course our characters do not know about Beam Saber.
Have we encountered both of these RVs before? Because the Hope of Calazar is the fast fly one, right?
Yeah, you've not seen Horizon Blue before. That one is new to you. The Hope of Calazar was previously piloted by Slipaway Bolt, but that was something that they stole from CalazCon. It appears that they have reclaimed it. The Horizon Blue, you've not seen, although I imagine it's not hard to get footage of it now.
Okay.
I think Mike's definitely, or whatever. If the camera cuts away and comes back, where we've got, instead of these walls of the weird squares where things have been taken down, we're drawing on the walls. We've got, because imagine if there's a whiteboard, we can go on the whiteboard. If there's not a whiteboard, we'll just paint on the walls, right? Mike definitely wants the Hope of Calazar, right? That's what he's after. He's, the Vector Mantis is also a very fast RV, so he's going after that. Are we making gather information rolls at this point, or is there other? Because I know there's also a scene regarding your.
What are you thinking in terms of gathering information about the Hope of Calazar?
I'm interested in knowing who the new pilot is. Like, what's going on here?
Is there a way you could leverage your Slipaway Bolt connection to learn more about the mech?
It's less the mech; it's more who's piloting it now.
Yeah. Do you think you might have a way of figuring that out?
You know what? That's a great question that I'd hope would come to me in these scant seconds between asking the question and receiving your answer. I might come back to that and have a bit of a think. I guess the other thing is just in general about the Horizon Blue, because that's the one we've got the least information about already, right?
Yeah. I would say there's no way you can't tune into a broadcast of what's going on. So I think at a bare minimum, I can just give you its art right now. And then if you want more specifics, then we can act on that.
Oh, it's one of those funny birds.
This is an Exodon extractor. You've seen the basic version of this being piloted by Empress Gold a few missions ago. The main differences with this one are that you can see some sort of laser weapon mounted underneath the wrists. The base model has a hammer on the right. This one has another claw. And there's some sort of missile launcher around either side of the waist. So that's what you can get just without even rolling.
I know Longreach knows that the Goliath is being at least partially driven by an AI of the same model as them. And I was wondering if there was a way to use Longreach to get an idea as to where it's located or how to access it, or maybe even what comms channels it's available on. What ports does it have open?
What action did you have in mind for that?
It's probably not bombard. Potentially scan, maybe study. It's kind of the same either way, I think.
I mean, this is also, I think maybe it's interface, but you're right, it doesn't make a huge difference.
It's one dice regardless as to the roll there.
Yeah.
Let's give it a go. Let's give it a cheeky try, get things rolling. Games don't really start until you start rolling, so... Well...
Alright, that's a 1.
That sure is.
You know what? It's important to get the crappy rolls out of the way first. Sun Tzu said that. So the shot it is True in the truck. She is parked on the roof of the end of the line. Maybe she's out sat on one of the arms, which is outstretched with Longreach in it, and she's looking through Longreach's red shield and the kind of scope interfaces on her HUD, looking at the chest and the head of the Goliath, trying to see if there's any outgoing communications or any. I know we have a little bit of detail from Empress Gold, though I got the feeling that was quite 2 degrees of communication. But that's what she's interested in. She's looking for potential access pathways, whether physical or digital, to this thing. And by the thing, I mean the AI core of the big boy.
Yeah, you think it's going fairly well. You haven't got a good close-up look at them, but you gather from that sort of cloud of insects-looking thing that I mentioned earlier, Goliath is also piloting a huge fleet of small drones, so you can pretty easily find one of the channels that's being used to monitor and control those and try to trace it backwards. You think you're making some headway or sort of going through some of the early security gateways, encountering just some sort of fairly run-of-the-mill maintenance traffic. The arrogance to think that you can leave one of my errant siblings to sniff me out like some common dog like them. I am something else entire.
No one's calling you a dog. I want to talk. I think I got one of your brethren here. That's why I wanted to speak.
Kneel and pledge your allegiance, and then I might deign to hear a worthless word from your mouth.
She closes the comms channel. Reach, your new sibling's rude. This is gonna be difficult. Okay, so we can open up a comms channel. They're just rude.
Yeah.
I feel like Sir had a bit of a superiority complex as well. I'm not super concerned about that.
Yes, you can open up a comms channel, but I think the more immediate information that you gain from this is what channels is the Baron Bastardos AI broadcasting on? The answer is yes, basically. Its handle over most of the sort of everyday technological functions of Goliath is more or less all-encompassing, and if you try anything technological out in the field, this is an adversary that will actively oppose you. So you have information, but it's bad news.
Alright, well, I'm going to let the squad know anyway. I think she walks back into Renee's old office, pins up a list of, everyday ports, which are, 80 and 443 and 1433 and what have you, and just says, bad, underneath, crosses them out. Little doodle of the Goliath itself, but with, a classic, monster face on it. It's the Lilo and Stitch, this is how you look now, and it's, full of red.
I can presumably, or Mike can presumably, hack in and try and find a script and a cast list, and then be cross-referencing any of the people on there, especially if the pilots are on there as well, versus what people know about them as well. Because we've got the loyal bar, we shouldn't forget that gives us a +1 dice to certain gathering info rolls, right? So is it possible to hack in and basically get a script and cast list?
That definitely works. I feel like based on what we've seen of how technological intrusion with Goliath seems to go from true, it sounds like you'd be leaning more on the loyal bar though, so unfortunately for you, it would be maybe more consort than interface.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily be trying to hack Goliath. I'm trying to hack the main servers of CalazCon, the writer's room, right? Where they wrote the stuff that they will have then passed out.
Right, yeah, okay. All right.
They'll have had, some of these cast members or, the script writers, they'll have been doing some kind of, panel at Hall H at some point, right? Get in there, just try and, man-in-the-middle attack if they try and connect their little pads to the main Wi-Fi or something like that, right?
Right, yeah, okay. I see where you're coming from. Yeah, all right. Can try and interface for that.
Yeah. Does the loyal bar help for any additional information? Do we get the additional dice, or?
Yeah.
Ooh, that is 2 6s. That's a crit.
Yeah, so you get access to the sort of basic Google Drive folder or calendar entry for one of the showrunners or their sort of HR, their talent management basically. And you see a set of documents.
I guess what might be quite useful as well as just general information about cast and the pilots. If they've got a set piece planned and they have to be in specific marks for it. Like, they have to be in specific positions, because that's what they're going to be doing, right? They're going to have a big scene. Mm-hmm. If we can get a big scene where we know exactly where they are, that's going to be a good, like, route in for us, right, potentially.
I think what you get is less... Because, sure, you're right, this is a very choreographed thing. You know this also from your interrogation of Empress Gold during Downtime. This is an homage to an iconic part of the CalazCon franchise. But at the same time, they know that they are doing this in a war zone. It's not planned out second by second. I've just realised this is me going like professional wrestling mode, but like they don't have.
I was about to if you weren't going to. They got some spots planned. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. There isn't like a set piece with okay, now you stand here and you stand here, but there is a. They will call out like spot 3, and they will have rehearsed exactly how that goes down.
It's not a Macho Man Ricky Steamboats. They're going to call it a bit on the fly instead. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing you get is you do see contracts for the various performers. The contract for The Hope of CalazCon has an unusual sort of extra paragraph that's been added in because it mentions the payment being wired securely to a sort of safe drop-off point. And you realise that the reason why it's set up that way is the pilot of The Hope of CalazCon has requested that CalazCon send their payment to one of their enemies. The payment is to be sent to a Jervangelion account.
Interesting. Does it say who this pilot is? Or have they used a pseudonym?
No, I think you scroll up a bit. The pilot is Slipaway Bolt.
I see.
Slipaway Bolt is working for CalazCon, but has asked that their salary goes to some element of the Jervangelion forces.
Interesting. Mike sees this and a big smile comes on his face because he was looking to get a little bit of revenge for Slipaway Bolt for this person that's taken the Hope of CalazCon, and he was actually a little bit sad that he would not be able to get a proper rematch, and he's very glad that this is potentially something that's on the cards now. Mike is now looking as happy as Julius looks. Any info on the Horizon Blue?
No, doesn't seem to be. Looks to be one of the sort of ace pilots of CalazCon, but it's not a name you particularly recognise.
And I'm assuming with this list of spots, even though we've not got a very specific, complete itinerary, we presumably, given the role as well, we've got some ability to interpret what they might be doing and when a certain spot might be about to happen to help us time our ingress, I guess, into the field of battle. Do we at least have something that we could put together a little bit of
yeah. Definitely.
We look at someone's looking like they're about to get on the equivalent of the top of a turnbuckle. We've got a little bit of time to go. Okay, yeah. When the Horizon Blue starts going underneath the ring apron, just starts pulling out these giant RV-sized tables and just starts setting them up.
Yeah.
What's the deal with Morn Marza?
Yeah. Oh, I was going to mention that. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, because why is Morn Marza in your ROE? Yeah, you get a message on your sort of phone, Julius. It just says, hey, just thought you should know, whatever happens next, Serpent's Fangs have, there's a pause, requested that I be their official liaison with you and the team. There's a very long pause with the sort of 3 dots for typing still appearing after that message, and then just sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call Morn Marza. Julius doesn't text. Julius is old.
Yeah, hey. What's up?
For clarity, I'm hoping to be gather information role.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
Morn?
Hey, Julius.
Explain.
I mean, I'm trying to be upfront about this. I mean, look at what's going on. What is there to explain? You know, I drive a fucking taxi. I didn't want to be doing this. I didn't want to set up that meeting and go through all this.
But you are.
Yeah, and I'm doing this, but it isn't because I know things or can do things, Julius. At that point, it occurs to you that official liaison is a more polite way of saying Montmartre is another piece of leverage that the Serpent's Fangs plan to hold over you.
I see. Yes, I understand the situation. Thank you.
She still might know something.
I am trying to work out how to ask for... if Morn Marza is essentially leverage, then I can assume this call is being monitored.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I need to ask for information in code.
Mm-hmm. And what information is it you're looking to have?
Superfangs are fuckers. They're gonna do something.
Yeah.
Like, what does Morn know about the Serpent's Fang, right? Actually, I hang up, and then I send Morn Marza the equivalent of, like, a signal message that, like, just has, like, that has just, like, a second digital location in it. Like, go to this, like, chat room or whatever, right, that is, like, also encrypted.
Are you going to log into the same private Minecraft server and just...
Yes, exactly. The same private Minecraft server. And then just start asking questions.
Yeah.
And I guess the consort is there. Are they going to go along with this?
Yeah.
Is she going to go along with this?
Right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that's a good plan. Let's see how that goes.
Okay. Do I have any fun... This one? Oh, yeah. From Loyal Bar. It's a digital bar. Also.
I'm just imagining there is a version of the bar inside this Minecraft world, and you are just sitting inside.
It's yes, exactly. Anyway, this is a 3 dice consort.
Yeah.
It's a 5, a 2, and a 4.
So you log into this chat room, there's like a few tense minutes, and then another user joins. Yeah? What? I can try to help, but I don't think I have long.
Alright, tell me everything that you have on the Serpent's Fangs operations regarding Goliath and, whatever particular double cross they're planning.
I'm not sure. They have me here, the spaceport. I mean, there's nothing weird happening. I haven't noticed anything out of the ordinary or that I wouldn't expect on just a kind of ramshackle makeshift military base. I really don't know what their whole deal with Goliath is, but I know I've overheard them talking about it. I know it's real. And I know that I'm here because they're banking on... They think there are still some lines you won't cross, and that when it comes to it, you'll want to be a hero. You can see that she starts typing something else, and then she abruptly disconnects from the chat room.
Alright, okay.
So,
I'm gonna rescue Morn Marza, or somebody does.
The main takeaways from that are there isn't like an over double cross per se, but part of Montmartre serving as leverage is not just that the Serpent's Fangs think you care about her, it's also that they want to make sure that if you do try to double cross them, everyone knows that you hurt or killed a civilian. Again.
Right. A civilian that I'm actually quite fond of.
Yes. And the other sort of thing you pick up is if the Serpent's Fangs plan for a final blow on Goliath is real, it is something that isn't immediately visibly obvious, and so perhaps there is a risk that if you try to overtake the spaceport, you will still find that you can't use their plan.
Okay.
Ipsy, do you have anything planned?
Yeah, I mean, fairly basic question, but I'm quite interested in just confirming what exactly the mechanism is for triggering the finale. Like, we've been told there are keys, is that right, on board the Hope and the Horizon Blue.
Yes. Yeah.
But I kind of want to know if there's any way to figure out if that's a device or like a code phrase or whatever, because that might affect how we want to do things. I don't know if that's necessarily a gather information role, but
I think I can give you some of that because that's what some of the other squad's previous missions figured out, where yours figured out weapons, another squad's figured out the self-destruct system. Its key is in more like an encrypted signal key, is my understanding. Yeah, it's each RV has an encrypted code that they will broadcast over comms.
Okay, yeah, alright, that makes sense. Okay, that was the main thing that was actually on my mind. I don't really have any other major pieces of prep that I was thinking of.
I mean, if we have... Because you were saying that someone needs to potentially rescue them. Like, we've still got these tunnels underneath the spaceport. Well, we can put Board Squadron and a number of our troops. Could we feasibly dress those up in Serpent's Fang's uniforms? If we have a gathering info question here going, like, could we get some information about that layout there in order to help that side of things? Or is finding some more info about the... I guess this is also a question for Don, for what you might be interested in going for. Or is getting a bit more information about the specifics of either of these two mechs, that side of things, good? Because I think we're not doing too badly on mech info, right?
I think the thing with infiltrating with tunnels is I don't think I would be great at trying to set that up.
Oh, just in terms of like just asking the question to get the info, regardless of who actually goes down there to do it.
Sure.
So, what is it that you're looking for exactly? More information on the layout of the spaceport or the situation there?
Oh, I was just raising the idea that might be a route to get more information on. If there might be some plans going there on top of all of the other objectives we have in this mission.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything I can do in terms of scouting the tunnels or the spaceport or something.
I mean, you could make a roll, get some of the troops, because they've got skulk and stuff like that, right? Because you could presumably make a cohort roll as part of a gather info, I don't know.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you want to...
Assuming that's what you want to do, so I don't want to...
Yeah, that's okay. No, that's okay. I had a few things in my head. And just to check what the suggested plan with Board Squadron was exactly. Like, how are we using them?
We haven't really discussed it fully yet, I don't think, but...
Okay,
in my head, one option was having them ready in those tunnels to go up through the spaceport if we needed to. Like, if we wanted to say... Like, oh, the spaceport is under attack. We need to reinforce and help our friends in Serpent's Fangs. We'll send some troops to reinforce you to get an idea of what's going on. Or we could, like, dress them up and be more subterfuge as well. That's one option. The other one would be for them to be helping the fight more directly, but it seems that's happening more of the RV scale. Happy to hear other suggestions about what they could be up to, but having them as an ace in the hole for this other like sub-objective thing seems somewhat efficient, but I don't know if like Saber or Fee, if you have or you as well, don't know if you have opinions about what Board Squadron could be doing.
My temptation is, do we want to try and get some more screen time of Board Squadron doing the hand-to-hand stuff, and also if we try to do any kind of... I know the... is it the 86er inside the big spooky bastard somewhere?
Yeah.
But if we want to try and do any boarding actions or try and, do some damage against the Goliath, seeing as I want to try and steal the AI from it, I wonder if having Board Squadron around might be useful. What I'm worried about is putting them on the sidelines for the entire mission.
We could send them after Morn, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that was what Matt was thinking, right? Because Morn is at the spaceport, yes?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, yeah. I mean...
Is that concurrent with the mission, or is that post the Goliath going down, or what?
That feels concurrent.
Depends how stealthy we are, right? Like,
I mean, they're reasonably stealthy. I think we just maybe roll that and hope, because we have a lot of balls in the air. We have to beat up 2 mechs, we have to make sure Serpent's Fang doesn't get the credit, and we have to rescue my work bestie.
One of those enemy pilots is also, we now know, is a rival as well, so that's going to be interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I figure me and you take that one because it's fun.
Also, I kind of want to rescue that AI, not to put more balls on the on the plate.
Oh, cool. I think we just have to send Board Squadron in and hope it works.
In where?
Into the spaceport to
spaceport.
rescue more.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. They're going to be up against, like, very large machines in other circumstances, right? Which typically doesn't go well for people who don't have those.
I had a shitty idea.
What was it?
What is it?
We could go and get Renee and get him to lead Board Squadron.
No! That's
No.
a terrible... We have a guy who does that already.
Why would you make Board Squadron worse?
Renee
Just to
Leeson
get
is the
Renee
best
back in the
thing
fight.
he's done for us.
Yeah, true.
We could have a
Very
special
nice of him to leave.
special assignment for Renee, go and retrieve the AI core from Goliath.
And like, we don't have to be necessarily saying this is exactly what they will be doing, but because we've got flashbacks and stuff like that
No,
as well.
but if we've got
Yeah,
to move
okay.
stuff into place. Okay, I'm on board with you guys. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Alright, I think in that case, I would like to assist Board Squadron in finding a hidden staging point to be ready to go into a spaceport.
Well, we do have,
have those.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
know
we have
the
them
back.
with the
Yeah,
tunnels?
we got 'em.
Yeah, okay. I guess we do have those. Yeah, alright.
Yeah.
We could acquire uniforms of the Serpent's Fangs or something like that.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, exactly. Or like guard routes and stuff.
for one of those special guns that only shoots enemy combatants and not hostages. That'd be
Okay.
good.
And we're definitely okay, because this feels a lot like breaking the terms of the ceasefire. So we are...
Well, only if we get caught. And this would be setting us up in a position to do this if we needed to. Because we could also go in, give them a thing over the radio saying, no, the spaceport's under attack. We're going to send, we're in an alliance. We're going to send in troops to reinforce you.
Yes.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Them taking hostages isn't violating the full terms of the ceasefire, right? Because it's Morna's CalazCon staff or what?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, Morna's Joe Evangelion, right?
Oh.
It's sort of a they're she's deniably not a hostage,
Yeah, gotcha.
right? So
What I'm saying is, beating up some Serpent's Fangs to take their uniforms feels like violating the terms of the ceasefire.
Oh,
yeah, but buying Serpent's Fangs uniforms,
Okay, right.
Yeah.
definitely not.
There's cosplayers everywhere here.
Yeah, plus we know the Hive, and that seems like their sort of thing, right?
That's true.
Okay. Yeah, I could say you could try to prepare Serpent's Fangs disguises for Boar Squadron, but I agree that masquerading as Serpent's Fangs would definitely be considered against the ceasefire if you get caught, and if it becomes clear that this is something you did, retroactively.
Or maybe we don't get them the uniforms then. Maybe we just have them on standby.
yeah. Or just get information that might help if we do decide to take that route, right? Or
Which we have already, right? Because we have those spaceport routes.
Yeah. Or just more specifically about, where is Mon being kept?
That's true. That could be a gathering information thing. Investigate the spaceport. Where is Morn being kept? Any ideas? You could track the IP address taken from that Roblox server that they were on.
Or I guess even more specifically, if you could find out exactly what their final thing is, because we weren't able to get in, that would also be useful, right?
That's true.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Ipsy?
Yeah, okay. I think working out where Morn is actually the best thing to do. Yeah. So, probably going with some of Board Squadron close to the spaceport to try and just scout and observe movement.
All right.
Make it a
Sure.
survey roll. Yeah,
Yeah, sounds good.
that's 4.
So yeah, I think with a combination of surveillance from ground level and maybe even also some sort of sonar or radar thing from the hidden underground path that you located a while ago, you figure out that they are in the process of emptying out or decommissioning large parts of the spaceport. They are maintaining sufficient troop presence to make it still a viable threat, make sure that no one could just walk in and take it, yourselves included. But they are, if anything, sort of setting up denser fortifications around a specific part of the spaceport that you figure out it's sort of like a sort of air traffic control tower. So one elevated position, but they seem to be concentrating their fortification and a lot of their movements around. You think it's pretty likely that Morn would be in there as well. You are not sure why. All right. unless anyone else has any other plans, shall we go to our engagement roll?
We should do load.
Heavy.
Yeah, I feel like we can do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's heavy time, gamers.
Alright, so start with 1 dice. And just to make it clear, I feel like we can probably infer this, but what is your plan and what is its detail?
Where we're going to beat them up.
Yes, it's going to
We
be.
only use violence.
It's going to be an assault plan, I believe, which should give us a bonus dice on the engagement roll because we took shock and awe with our squad.
We're specifically splitting up to, Mike and Julius, True and Ipse, to take out the 2 key holders.
That seems logical.
Sounds fine. Yep.
Yeah.
With board squadrons sort of held kind of in reserve. We can flash back and put them in where they need to go, but yeah.
Yeah.
And the detail that you need for your assault plan is the point of attack. So, what would that be?
So,
Those mechs up there.
Yeah, those mech spots that they're setting up, like, is there one where, like, the Horizon Blue and the Hope in Calazar are very far away from one another, or one is, like... Because what's the plot of... I imagine there is a plot of, like, this fight where I'm assuming there's going to be some kind of flow to the quote-unquote match, right? Like, is there a point where one of either the Hope of Calazar or Horizon Blue is like, oh no, they've been knocked out, they go away for a little while?
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion?
Uh-huh, yeah.
You know how in wrestling they have those bits where they do an incredibly impressive attack, but then they have to cut to commercials? And so there's like a 2 or 3 minute period where they're just kind of pacing around the arena, and maybe they're a little bit apart from each other, or maybe one of them's recovering from a quote-unquote injury or something like that. Can we just attack them during the ad spot?
Oh, just when Goliath's got, like, the Hope of Calazar in a rest hold or something like that, basically.
Yes!
Horizon Blue is like off. They've been thrown out of the ring, or they've been left behind as it's moved to another area of the city, right? So, and ideally one where the Hope of Calazar is easy to attack with our strong initial assault. Like, you know, anything that we can kind of give us the edge that we can, right?
So yes, our point of attack is all of that.
Our point of attack is an appropriate spot where they're split up and, you know, a lull in the fighting to a certain degree. Because it might actually be an ad break, right?
Yeah, sure, but we again, going back to wrestling, we know all too well that picture-in-picture is a thing.
That is true.
But yes.
That's true, but nothing ever happens that's interesting in the picture-in-picture. It's just them pacing around and whatever the fuck.
And antidepressant ads.
Yeah.
And antidepressant ads.
And on the European feed, like Space Taz and Space Shivani are like going at each other, but no one can hear
it. All right. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good detail. All right, so start with 1 dice. Is the mission bold, or is it especially complex?
I think it's bold.
Yeah, I'd say that it's bold.
It's on camera, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, there isn't much subterfuge here. You're more or less just going straight in. Yeah, I say take another one for that, so that's 2. Does the mission exploit the target's vulnerabilities, or is the mission's tactic ineffective against the target?
Commercial breaks.
Yeah.
We're exploiting the fact that it is a fake fight to an extent.
It's a performance, yeah.
Yeah.
True. All right, 3 dice. Is the squad receiving external support for the mission?
Yes, from our good friends, the Serpent's Fangs.
Ostensibly, yes.
Yeah.
Is anyone interfering with the mission? Yes,
yes,
our good friends. So I think that's still 3. Are there any other factors affecting the mission?
Shock and awe, right? That's an extra 1 if we're doing an assault.
Yeah, but I would say -1 for differences in squad tier. Very definitely. You are tier 2? Yes. And Calaz Clash are tier 3. So I'd say that cancels out, so we're still at 3. And I'd also say factors might include differences in squad tier, specialized equipment, unusual terrain, and more. I think you get another -1 dice for that is a big fucking robot.
Wow, big robot.
That is a big robot.
Yeah.
We're ostensibly not attacking the big robot, but the big robot is there.
Yeah.
And you are attacking it eventually, perhaps.
That's true. I'd like to.
Not that this matters, but I am actually we're not getting any rep from Martyr, because I have, for once in my miserable, benighted life, no harm or damage.
Wow, proud of you.
I know. He's
That's
taking care of
growth, that is.
himself. Yeah.
For the first time since
Self-care.
mission 1, bookended.
Really letting us side down. I can't believe you aren't going into this fight with a fucking, like, gut wound or something.
You know I love
This
to go into
time.
fights with gut wounds, but...
Alright, someone roll that engagement. 2 dice.
Dibs on it.
I think Mike should do it.
Mike should do it.
I think Mike should do it.
Okay. I thought we were going to be going higher on this, but there are a lot of negatives.
It's the finale.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Good thing we took shock and awe.
I was going to say, ooh, you rolled
Hey!
a 10. Oh, no, a
Somehow
5.
a
I see.
10.
Yeah.
A 5 and a 5.
Not awful,
Yeah.
but not great either. Okay. You approach the perimeter and find your opening just as planned. You find just the spot that you were working towards. Goliath. Actually, I'll bring you to the map so I can illustrate this better.
Goliath has reached for a golf club.
Because Mike might not be here. He might have a plan to come in hot, as it were, but we can come to that in a second.
I see.
I don't like
okay.
that mech T-posing there for dominance. That makes me very uncomfortable.
Goliath, this towering monstrosity looming above even the skyscrapers in the area, has just planted a colossal foot, crushing a building. We're at the point where, like, Horizon Blue and Hope of Calazar are both on the scene, but their pilots are still vying for, like, supremacy over one another. They haven't yet put aside their differences and realized that they have to work together. The Hope of Calazar has just attempted to do this, like, extremely cool spot where it, like, sort of, like, leapt and climbed and jumped up Goliath to get at its face, and it got within an inch of striking, and Goliath was just reared back and punched it with the offhand, which sent the Hope of Calazar just flying back. So it's all the way off, like, on the right-hand side of the map.
Oh, we saw it just bop over on roll 20 there. That was good. In-action storytelling.
Leaving Horizon Blue relatively alone out in the open. So you have your moment, but it's not quite as you might have imagined. You don't have the Hope of Calazar undefended. The Hope of Calazar is the one that's been separated, and as you know, it can get back to the party pretty quickly. You also see, it's a small detail, but on a machine the size of Goliath, it's hard to miss. You see its head sort of twitch imperceptibly, and even in the cockpits of your RVs, you begin to hear this sort of low humming and almost begin to feel yourself shiver. One of Goliath's weapon systems is priming.
That's probably bad.
I have a plan.
Okay.
In terms of this initial coming onto the scene, letting these combatants know that we're here, I had an idea for how to do that regarding the Vector Mantis, particularly from what you've just said there, Elspeth, as well. Can I pitch you on the first blow, folks, if that's okay?
Go for it.
I'm imagining, or this is at least the plan, and we'd have a little bit of an idea of how this would go because we've read the scripts to a certain degree, or at least the notes. We've got the Hope of Calazar. It's been knocked really far away. And as you've said, Elspeth, like the Hope of Calazar can get back really quickly. And I'm imagining there's going to be some point where either they'd have the helmet. I don't know if they're doing the cut-ins in there, but I imagine there'll be some kind of pause where the Hope of Calazar can pause, and whether or not it's literally Slipaway Bolt saying this or some kind of overlay of like the original anime voice line that's happening. It's like, but I can get back there because nothing's faster than hope. And like it will start from, as we can see on the Hope of Calazar, going immediately left here. The camera could then switch back to the end of a line where we've got the Vector Mantis hooked up onto the monorail tracks, because there's still quite a long bit. Extra boosters on there. We're going to use the monorail as a launching platform to get that extra bit of speed. And, we'll count down. Vector Mantis will come out as fast as possible, even faster than usual. And as the Hope of Calazar is starting to head back towards the Goliath.
So that red line is your trajectory of approach.
Well, that's the trajectory of the Hope of Calazar, and then the idea would be, as I'm coming out real quick, we kind of hit it sideways like that, out of the air. So basically, if we're using wrestling analogies, I want to hit a pounce on it, effectively, knock it out of the air, like at right angles, and then if we've timed this correctly, Julius, you can be approximately where this would land.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And also, I want to launch off this monorail track. I've had this in my mind since it turns out we were on here. But yeah, we flip in there. The engines are thrumming, and we can put some extra boosters on there for that just initial velocity coming out. And they'll just
let's do your thing, and then my flashback, and then my thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Assuming this doesn't go badly.
I mean, I'm thinking maneuver as a base.
I mean, maneuver will get you onto the scene. I don't know if it'll particularly damage the Hope of Calazar. Is that what you intended?
Oh yeah, I intend to be basically tackling this out of the sky, blades first. So if you prefer a battle, we can do battle as well.
No, okay, we can go with maneuver. Maneuver is good.
But I'm combining getting there and the hit. Like I have the same number of dots in maneuver and battle, so whichever way we want to pitch it.
You have to be mean. You're fast, but you're working with what you've got, and not the resources of CalazCon. I think this starts out as risky limited.
Risky limited. Okay, I've got some stuff that I could throw in there. Yes, this is something that can also tie into the description we had of all these additional boosters. I imagine as we're coming out from the monorail track, these would be dropping off the end. They're not attached necessarily to the vector mantis, they're just pushing it along. I've got one of my abilities as a tuner is a boosted reactor, one use only. I can spend for improved effect when speed or agility is required. Would that...
Speed is required.
Extremely, yes. Okay.
If you do want to help, I am willing to offer you one. If you answer me my riddles... No, yeah, go for it.
I mean, that takes us up to risky standard, right? So I wouldn't mind going up to risky great if we can try and get up there. How many dots of help can you give me?
We've still got 2 bond. So, yeah. I'm willing to spend 2 stress on that. I think this is worthwhile doing. It's going to start working on a rival clock, presumably, which I think we need to do. So, in my mind, it's just True is closer to the site and actually has the sniper rangefinder and so on, so is able to tell you where the enemy mecha is by subtracting where the enemy mecha is not.
Yes!
Wow. The setup finally paid off, which is definitely exactly what we have planned. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of your benefits is improved effect. Is the other going to be an extra dice?
I think that makes sense. Would that put me on risky great?
Yes, it would.
And we don't go higher than great when we're setting things up, do we?
No.
You got to do something real special to get to extreme.
Yeah, I'll just try and roll some 6s. That might be a good idea, I guess.
Just roll 6s.
I'll just roll 6s.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
easy.
why didn't you say that beforehand, Matt? We could have gone without all this extra dice business. You could have just rolled some...
We'll see how it goes. I don't think I've got any relevant harm or damage now that I'm in my mech. I've got the harm of, hesitant.
Oh, launching yourself at high speed towards your rival? Hesitant? Yeah. Yeah, especially when isn't that a downgraded version of red, which was inflicted by Slipper
Oh no.
That is true.
Son of a bitch.
I think we might be back down to risky standards.
I mean, I've got a quirk I could use, right? I could use my quirk for heavy duty boosters to get us up to great again. Would that make sense?
These are the heaviest duty boosters.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to do that.
I think leading with a great is good, and as tempting as it is to reduce my position for increased effect, I'll spend a quirk at this point, because the boosters is definitely what's coming in here, right?
Yeah. Okay. Risky great it is then.
Let's do it. That's a 6.
Oh,
Okay.
1516, gamers.
The rangefinder just gets it in at the last minute. It's a micro adjustment, but gets us there.
All right. Yeah.
Hope of Calazar starts going off and just gets completely smashed from the side. I'm afraid you're going to have to miss your cue.
I think if we imagine the sort of video feed that the convention attendees and the fans on board Goliath are seeing, we get the Hope of Calazar punching its way out of some rubble and a voiceover saying, "That was nothing. It's barely a scratch. I can take you on." And it's extremely, slightly misaligned dub voiceover. They have actors doing this. That is not Slipaway Bolt. And then takes off, gets a second into flight, and then suddenly there is just this, cannon blast, and the Hope of Calazar veers off at a right angle. I'm imagining you sort of launching it immediately into another building or something, or perhaps launching it into the waiting embrace of Julius, because you had something planned after this, didn't you?
Yeah. Okay, I need to do a flashback. I am in the mech bay with Mike. We are looking at, Toru. And Julius is making a very tired face. And he says, "Okay, before I change my mind."
Okay. If you're sure, I'm pretty sure I can move the components around, so you shouldn't be losing anything too major, but it should definitely be increasing your thrust-to-rate ratio, or, for obvious reasons.
As I know it won't be an asset in the mission to come, I'm trying not to think about it.
Julius, Mike puts his hand on your shoulder. Thank you for trusting me with this. I promise I'll make him proud. All right?
Yeah. Okay. Do it. And then we cut back to Julius, who is standing in the path of the Hope of Calazar's trajectory, and he has both arms out because he is not carrying another mech anymore.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Several things happened. One is that I took the 5th quirk using our remaining bits of material unburdened, and the other thing is that I took a second ace move, More Than Meets the Eye. Your custom vehicle can transform into a secondary form, in this case, once. Detail that second form. Select 2 load worth of vehicle gear and 3 action points that your vehicle has. It lacks this gear and these action points when it's secondary form. Basically, I get to move some stats around, and in this particular case, I've moved a point into battle from Destroy and 2 points from Bombard into Maneuver. And one of the things that I have taken for my vehicle gear that is changing is I'm taking a melee weapon or 2. In this case, Rocket Fists. I also want to tick my mobility suite so I can get there fast enough. I believe we fixed it last downtime, because it was definitely broken at one point. And I want to punch him really hard.
I didn't know you were also taking that ace move. That is very cool. I was wondering how because there was some weapons in the bull, right? But now that doesn't need to be. We don't need to have some of those systems. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you still have your spear as well, or is it?
I have my spear. The spear is still there. It's just that the big laser and the rockets are no longer there.
But you will be able to wield it like a more traditional spear. That classic anime level up move of using your weapon with both hands, which has precedence, I believe.
In this particular case, it's on my back though, because I'm punching him.
So you've been knocked into a building. And then Slipaway has been knocked off a building, bounces off, and then this is a combo attack as it's falling down. Yeah,
yeah. So I have 3 points of battle.
Okay.
What's my position effect here?
I'd say that you're still in Risky Limited.
Oh damn. Okay. I'm gonna tick one of my quirks, unsurprisingly brutal, because of punching. Does the mobility suite get me anywhere?
I think that's what's making this possible, because you've jumped across the map pretty quickly.
I did do that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll push for position, or no, I'll push for effect.
Do you need a help at all, or?
I would love a help.
Well, I can potentially give you a help. I've got 2 dots with you, and I think that would be a sensible thing for me to help you with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems sensible.
Yeah, what's the help look like?
I think it's distracting chatter towards Slipaway. Actually, maybe it's not distracting chatter to Slipaway specifically, or no, we can let Slipaway know that we know, right? I think that's fair at this point.
Maybe that's the help, right? Is the dramatic reveal as you slam into them.
Yeah.
All right, so that's 4 dice risky great.
Yeah. I just, Mike will say, slip away. I just have to let you know. I'm so glad it's you in there.
Hell yeah, let's go. I'm afraid to roll this. Okay, there's a 6. It's a 6, a 1, and 2 5s.
Okay.
While you're thinking, Elspeth, if there's some strike that hits here, I think we also definitely get the point as, there's going to be a degree of like momentum slowing down from the Vector Mantis hitting very hard as well. But we can get that scene of like the talon claws of the Vector Mantis scraping along the ground, ending in a point which is in close proximity to the Taro Taro. And we get that cool back-to-back pose as these two Orvs are like just posing in the street as like Slipaway gets hit back up into the air again, and then it's falling down somewhere else. But yeah, we get it all framed in this kind of manner as, these two are on the same page. They're here to kick your ass, Slipaway.
Hell yeah.
So, Slipaway Bolt in the Hope of Calazar bounces off this building into your waiting fist, and you're braced for the impact of metal crunching into metal, but instead you get this sort of reverberating buzz that rattles through the entire frame of a Taro Taro, and you feel it in your teeth as, at the very last second, faster than you would have expected any pilot to react. As a reminder, the Hope of Calazar has these sort of 4 long, flat limbs in a sort of the same configuration as a person, but more like sort of plain wings for flight. And the Hope of Calazar has these unique modifications where the tips of them are bladed for sort of melee combat and fast flyby strikes. And at the last second, one of these gets brought up, and there's still sort of crunch as one of the joints of the limbs gets sort of knocked out of place. But Slipaway Bolt just about parries your blow, and instead of the satisfying heft of their RV flying backwards again, you see it redirect the force and cartwheel upwards above you. I'm spending a rival move to reduce your effect down to limited.
Huh.
Damn. Brutal.
Wait.
Fair enough.
Well, wait, whoa, 1 second. Because there is something else as well, because this sort of got alluded to in the last downtime where I took a new ability, but we didn't say exactly what it was, or if we did, it might have gotten taken out. But like, I have taken, as part of like the discussion and between Mike and Julius, like last downtime, where Mike was taking on elements of the hero and taking on like he's especially specifically to do with dealing with Slipaway Bolt, as we saw under the underpass when that collapsed, like learning from Julius. Obviously not in terms of giving good speeches. That part was not rolled into his skill set, as we've seen. But what was rolled into his skill set was a hero ability, which he's taken as part of a veteran maneuver. Foiled again. Spend 1 quirk or 2 stress to negate a rival move. So, I would like to use this ability and spend a quirk or 2 stress to negate this rival move.
So, is what this looks like, is it like we see the smirk on Slipaway Bolt's face as they parry this attack, only for you to reveal that you, of course, you knew they were going to do that, and you've positioned yourself to hit them again as they fly up.
It's, something like that, although I suspect it's less more than me getting the blow. It's more that they parry this blow. I'm able to then slip behind, like, teleport behind them, much like, an early 2000s forum RP. I'll use my intimidating blades. As this parry happens, I will then effectively parry the parry as that blade comes through to knock it out of position, exposing, basically sneak up behind it and then bring my blades up to kind of just knock up at the elbows, just to leave like your torso and head unprotected. And then that's what leaves Julius to basically land another robot punch, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. You just set Slipaway Bolt up for 1-2. Okay.
Yeah, or get him in I would say equivalent of a full Nelson, but I don't think I have the arm flexibility to do that because I've just got big swords. But something like that, right? It's a parry. I parry the parry and then the counter hit from, that kind of thing. If that works for you, Julius.
Yeah, absolutely. Fuck yeah.
All right. We get cut to Swipper bolt through your comms, undercutting the much more heroic voice of the dub actor who we heard earlier saying, I is about to gloat and then just, what? And sort of, again, getting punched and flying up and away, visibly sort of reeling, trying to quickly regain their composure. I imagine sort of skidding to a halt, their blades digging into the roof of a building above you, looking down on you, but visibly sort of scratched and deflated.
And that's a point where we do our pose as I do Dada. We're like looking up there.
Hell yes.
And I say, you found a friend. Good for you. And I'm afraid we both have a payday to collect for the people we care about. And unlike you, I wasn't stupid enough to bring them into the firing line. They signal, they hop up, and a cloud of drones that was issued from Goliath flies over your head and envelops them. The cloud is so dense that it's as if they have suddenly become hidden in smoke.
That's surrounding the Hope of Calazar, right?
Yes.
I see.
And they begin to move to regroup with Goliath and Horizon Blue. But still, those hits were real. They are at 6 ticks out of 8 in their rival clock.
Get fucked.
But they are beginning to attempt to regroup, and meanwhile, at the same time, that sort of humming, buzzing noise I mentioned is only getting louder as you begin to see a glow emanate from one of the cannons on Goliath's shoulders. I am starting the resonance gun clock, and I am putting 2 ticks in it, unless someone wants to resist that.
That's from the rival move, right?
No, this is just time is passing and Goliath is doing things.
Okay.
That's a very short clock on that gun.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to resist the resonance gun firing.
Well, it hasn't fired yet. It's charging up, but you want to delay
Yeah,
that somehow?
I want to... Yes,
Shoot the gun with your gun. Shoot the gun with your gun.
I'm going to shoot the gun with my gun.
A logical move.
Okay. Uh-huh.
I think it is just True coming out. You know, it's every other mech has raced past. True is in a truck. So I think she lands somewhere in this park over here. Lands on top of like a bandstand or something like that, which visibly creaks under the weight. She has some alerts on her HUD about the resonance gun starting to kick off because they saw this, didn't they? Wasn't this the fucked up gun that they had at the fun time where True's stressed out?
Yes, so, yeah, you would know exactly how this works.
Yes. So, I've got two ranks in each vehicle type move anyway. B, we have Forged in the Fire, which means I spend 1 less quirk, so it's only 1 quirk for me to do this.
Mm-hmm.
B, I think the way that she does this, if you don't mind, do you think the crappy resonance stuff that it's accumulating counts as some kind of element?
It's specifically a sound, so yes, you could disrupt it, potentially.
I like the idea that, well, maybe the elemental nature then of the weapon this time is sonic. I like the idea that she's using some sort of targeted audio thing.
Oh, like a counter frequency, right?
Like a counter frequency.
Yeah, that can definitely work.
She reaches around in the toolbox or bandolier she's got of different kinds of weird bullets, holds up one which is like, it's got the Wi-Fi symbol on it, you know, the little, it's a speaker with a whole bunch of lines coming off of it. Are you ready, Reach? Last time, huh?
Yeah, I've got this.
I know, I never dared that for a second. And they start firing. And I think it is just the bullet fires, races across the battlefield, stops in midair, and just detonates into this wall of sound. Which I think just hangs in midair, denting the, charging of the loud bad gun.
Yeah, definitely. There's, Like that sort of buzzing sensation you're feeling, it suddenly like dips and ebbs for a moment. And I think we see Goliath's head turn to look at that, and then through like a sort of port in its chest, we see a cloud of more drones billow out to try to sort of like dismantle the effect. That's a very effective resist, but I am going to say, because it's Goliath, you've lowered the clock by 1 tick. It's still filling.
Meh, fair enough.
Gives us a bit more time.
I've just quickly used the like money symbol for the rival move, so play there. Had 4, spent 1, there's 3 left.
That's why Slipaway is so strong. He's using microtransactions. Son of a bitch.
He's pay to win. This
He's pay
motherfucker.
to win.
We grinded our levels the hard way, Slipaway, you son of a bitch.
We say starting at tier 2 anyway.
Ipsay, you get a buzz through from Birdie in Board Squadron saying, unless you think something else is going on, saying, we're positioned, ready to infiltrate the spaceport as planned. All set up, keep us posted. We'll move on your mark.
I don't know if we need to tell them to go right away, unless anyone thinks we should.
No, I think we're happy to see, like, what, because part of this is also seeing how things, like, plan out and then how we can like, react, right?
Having someone on the inside.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Swiftly Bolt, under the cover of that sort of cloud of drones, is moving close to regroup, and Goliath is advancing. I assume you've got a sort of wire into the CalazCon broadcast communications.
Yeah, and I assume we're chasing after the Hope of Calazar, right, Julius? We're
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the resonance gun briefly thwarted, Goliath is moving, sort of repositioning those sort of 4 force fields, the pink shields around its body, into a defensive position for its approach, and raising its Beam Saber into a ready stance. Another one of its cannons you can see is also priming. You could guess that's probably the plasma cannon that it still has. What would you like to do, Ipsay?
I guess right now my thoughts are on the other target. So, Can we see the horizon blue? Is it airborne? Or is it somewhere in the buildings?
You can. It has the wings, but as you can see, it's pretty heavy and they're kind of stubby. They're more for like brief bursts of flight and maneuverability. So, I think it's along this main road, and it's like backpedaling, trying to keep kayfabe a little. It's like it's facing Goliath and is trying to look like it's beat a tactical retreat when really it is moving to approach you.
Okay. What I would like to do, if True is on board with it, is I was thinking I could launch some missiles at it and see if that causes it to try and dodge into the air, at which point you should have a clear shot with long reach.
Oh, I like that. You going to try and do a setup action, or is this you helping me, or am I helping you?
I'm happy whichever way makes sense of the mechanics, but I was like, I like the idea of doing like a, kind of wide area bombardment to kind of force it into the air so that Drew can get a clean shot. That's the plan. What action roll would this be, do we think? Is this bombard?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool.
If you're better at battle, I could see the argument of it being you rushing in and, like, forcing it up into the air, like jumping it or something.
Equally bad at both, so, you know.
Well,
I have 1 die in, like, 3 different actions. I'm not very good at RV combat.
Skill issue.
I'll give it a shot.
The issue is your skills.
Also, don't know if it makes any sense to burn these quirks for this, so I'm just going to take the die roll.
Okay, well, before you do that, I do have to warn you that surprise factor is over. The RV you're targeting is now near Goliath. Goliath is onto you. The Hope of Calazar is moving to regroup. This is Desperate Limited.
Okay. That's a 1, so...
Okay, well, you'll never guess what I'm going to do in response to that.
Well, I wonder.
So, I use my ability Hook, which is I can spend Spark to change the setup actions. Result to a 6. I can spend a quirk to refresh my Spark if I so choose. I don't necessarily know what this looks like, so I'm open to pitches on that.
In terms of you spending the Spark?
Yeah, because it looks like this doesn't work initially. So how does True do something to force him up into the air.
Is it possible that long reach finds a way to fix my targeting from your position?
Oh, that's kind of funny. You know when you're on a Teams call and someone asks to control your screen? You're about to fire. You're about to fire, and you get an incoming control request from L_reach and a kitty face. It's like the missiles are in the midst of launching, and then they all just adjust like 15 degrees, circle round, and spam him in the back instead.
Yeah, that seems good.
So, improved effect or increased position, or, the actual way that you describe those things. So I've still got my sonic bullet, so that might be fun. I'm probably going to shoot this guy using violence. Do you think he's still at bombard range?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot this son of a gun, ironically with my gun child. Gonna burn the quirk ominous appearance. Which is just, I think if I was being shot up into the air, the most stressful thing I would expect to see is a mech standing up with the largest sniper rifle I've ever seen in my life. With an extremely sinister red eye on the end. I'm just going to pop this guy. I'm going to try and bombard. I'm going to burn a quirk, and we'll see what happens. Violence, I hope.
Okay, well, this is desperately limited to start. Are you using the setup to take improved position or effect?
Let's go improved effect. So desperate standard, I think.
Okay.
I do have 2 dice to begin with, so I could turn it to risky standard, which I think is probably wise. So regardless as to what happens, I think it turns out as risky standard with 2 dice. Oh, all of the big whammies today.
Yeah, wow.
She rolled a 3 and a 6, so this is a 6. Which I think is, the missiles come round, launch that thing up into the air, this awful big bird son of a bitch, and then True rises out from the remnants of this bandstand, which collapsed in between her 2 moves, and just shoots it right in the awful bird head.
Nice, yeah, so I'm picturing, it's following from, it's a setup actually, it's like you've distinctively got a bead on the horizon blue, just like wherever it like moves or strafes, all the ground around it is just getting concussively bombarded. So it finally takes to the air, it rises above the streets, and True, you're already waiting, and yeah, I think it takes the shot full on, and it's pretty heavy, but it's still just sent like reeling backwards. And it does so you see the Hope of CalazCon quicken its pace to try to join and assist. So the horizon blue is a 6-step clock, and you've put 2 into that.
I love it.
Nice.
Our teamwork, it's making the dream work.
Yeah. We've learnt the power of friendship.
Maybe the true terminal company was the friends we made along the way.
Thank you. I have a setup action I would also like to do.
All right, I'm just wondering if I want to interject. I'm debating how mean I want to be, basically.
I think no. I think you should be really nice. We've had a really long campaign.
Yeah, you know what? It's a big machine. I said that a gun on Goliath was warming up. It's warmed up. And it fires.
It's now warm.
Was this the resonance gun or a different gun?
Oh, it's a different gun. This thing has so many guns. So, one of the barrels on its shoulder rotates, fires, and a huge blue beam streaks out across the battlefield. You see, as it veers over the buildings, skim like above them, we get a close-up and we see the buildings sort of like melt or drip just from like proximity to the heat of this blast. And it slams towards you, Julius, dealing you the level 3 damage melted unless you resist.
I would like to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Can I drop my deployable cover? I've never done this before.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think I knew that existed.
Yeah, it's a hero thing, and I've literally never used.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a portable collapsible wall that can be locked into place, creating an instant barricade. I can carry stuff on my back now without my mech crumpling like a soda can. So, that's one of the things that I have.
And also, it's been charging up, so you'll have had a heads up that this is coming this way, right? Because I'm assuming this isn't effectively... Is this a rival move because it's coming out of nowhere, or is it just this is just part of a mission?
It's just Goliath.
It's just Goliath. Does Goliath things. Fair enough.
How much of that would that resist if I were to use that?
I think that could take it down to level 2 damage.
Christ. Okay.
You can also, if your mech doesn't have armor, you can junk your
I
gear.
can junk various things. I don't want to. Can I resist it with quirks?
Yes.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, and we're good at resisting with quirks. Like, we Forged in Fire again, right?
Right, yes. Then I've accidentally metagamed in a cool way. That's fun. Okay. Can I maybe just use load bearing to say, like, hey, this is a very large mech. I brought a very big wall.
Yeah, sure you can.
I was just going to say, I like the idea that because you are, like, the camera can capture this in such a way that the ORV is moving so much quicker. Like, it is able to deploy this so much faster now it's not carrying that large weight with it. Like, it's...
Yeah. I think we can call that an expertise resist, which means with Forged in Fire, it costs you 1 quirk. Yeah?
Cool. Can I get to 0 with that? Can I not take any damage, please?
I think you should haggle further. Try and get -1 harm from this. Try and get Goliath to heal you up.
Yeah, listen, I don't have any damage. First time in a very long time.
Oh, that's true.
I think this is still level 1.
Brutal.
It is Goliath, I guess.
I think in that case, I don't want to tick load bearing. I think I want the level 2 damage.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, level 2 damage.
Scorched.
Melted.
Yeah, alright.
Mm-hmm.
It's dripping in some places.
Yeah.
Bad.
But you're still behind this big wall, so we get there's still hitting your deployed cover, and like the beam like dispensing around it, but you just the heat is still getting to you, right?
Yeah. Can I whip around and do something while we're here?
Yeah, sure. So you've recovered from that blast. How do you respond?
I want to do a setup action. For Mike, I want to throw my spear and pin Slipaway Bolt to a building.
Okay. Difficult.
For him.
Yeah. Like I said, Slipaway Bolt is still hiding in that like cloud of drones. So they're a hard target to pin down, but you could definitely try.
Okay. Is this battle?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool.
Oh, we could do this the other way around, because I know that, like, Slipaway is Mike's rival, but Slipaway also taught Mike the meaning of teamwork. Like,
right, the meaning of friendship.
Could I do a setup action for Julius to throw this spear? Because that's a pretty cool way if this does the final damage. Like, I might have something to try and help with those drones.
Yeah, okay, that's fun.
The idea of someone else finishing off Michael's rival is pretty good, pretty choice.
I think being impaled by this spear that's been like unleashed by Mike's, or Mike has helped unleash this part of the mech, like does speak to a certain part of Mike's character and what he's learnt from here. And yeah, I think it's kind of interesting, like where his head's at as well. But like, so all of these drones, like, are these like, how big are these? Are these like the similar kind of size that we would have like a commercial drone like in our world? Or like, are they a bit bigger than that? Or
they're the size of a Vespa scooter.
I see.
Yeah, I think they're about drone size. But as you get a closer look at them, you realise that they are like tiny versions of the Horizon Blue and the Hope of Calazar.
Oh, that's dumb. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's for merchandising opportunities. They're like,
I hate that even more.
They're Gunpla kits around, like...
No.
Yeah.
But I'm imagining these smaller kind of drones, you're going to have to, and Mike would know this, you're going to have to give up certain parts of, like, the there's always going to be different not literal levers, but when you're designing a thing, you've got to, in order to up like the aesthetic value, you might have to give up something else or the speed and all this kind of stuff. So what I think Mike's going to do is he's going to actually like fly around in the vicinity of the Hope of Calazar, and this was like a detail that comes up on the because I think it's let me just double check the base type of the Vector Mantis, because is it a Shotel, which is the
yes, that's the name.
Yeah, and there's something that is mentioned in the rulebook about this mech is that they can frequently use their boosters as like an impromptu flamethrower.
Ooh.
And I'm thinking, if I'm flying around but using a very wide spread of like my boosters, I'm not really attacking, especially if I'm flying above like these drones. I'm basically upping the ambient temperature and hoping that it's getting too hot for these drones to handle. And because like there's so many of them, this is kind of like an area attack. Like it might help from that point of view as well.
I think that's neat.
As part of weight saving, I can declare one-use items. I'll declare a flamethrower as a setup to try and like heat up these drones, and hopefully they'll start falling out the sky to give a better shot.
Okay. Once again, desperate, limited.
Okay. It's a setup, right? So the limited is less of a...
Yeah.
So, is this a maneuver? Or a battle? I can do.
I think this is a battle.
Sure, we can do a battle. We can switch things up a bit. That's 3 dice. I think that's a decent amount of dice to be rolling as part of this, as I'm like spinning around. I don't think it makes sense to get any additional help on this. Yeah, I think I'm just good to roll 3 dice. 4, 5, 5.
Oof.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. That does, however, mean consequences.
There was some were going to turn up at some point.
What if they didn't, though?
What if we kept rolling 6s? I mean...
You start circling Slipway Bolt in this cloud of drones with the flamethrower. And as it happens, this drone factory was damaged by the farm upstate in a previous mission. So as you get close, you can see that some of them aren't all that great. There's like exposed wiring, uneven wings, and sure enough, under
We've
the
got
heat,
some misprints.
Yeah. They begin to like waver to slow down so they can't keep up with the Hope of Calazar, or just fall out of the sky. But as the cover begins to dwindle, Slipway starts using it to like sort of take pot shots at you, sort of like lunging out from the cloud. So it's as if the cloud of drones is suddenly sprouting these limbs and slashing at you, trying to like probe your defenses. And as you do this, you hear them say, "Do you know how many of my friends died when they took back this machine from me?" That was when I realized that people like us, we can't get our friends involved in our dreams. The best thing for us to do is strike out on our own, get the win, get the payday for the people we care about, and get out. And I'm sorry that you haven't learned that lesson. And as they say that, a particularly well-aimed sort of foot strike from the bladed limbs looms out and perfectly catches one of the joints in the Vector Mantis' shoulder. Take the level 3 damage severed.
Okay, well, we'll see what we can do about that.
Yes, let's.
So, in terms of, I don't have any armor, but I've got quirks and stuff I can use. As we've seen before, I can very much start trashing some of my gear in order to work as temporary armor. I've used my use of the boosted reactor, but it's still taking up a slot. Can I have that? I think we've done this, actually. I can have that trashed to act as armor, right? It'll become junked, even though I've used the use of it.
I think you can do that, yes.
Yes. So I would like to do that and like trash that as basically, I think especially the shoulder is like where some of these reactors are as well, or at least some of the additional like boosters that are on the Vector Mantis will be in various places. I think I can turn in such a way that it catches this and it's like leaking fuel and stuff like that. And that will reduce it by 1 level, right?
Yes.
And I could potentially spend a quirk to reduce it by another level.
Yes.
I'm going to spend my sensitive controls. Actually, am I inspired by Julius as taking that level 2 hit? Yeah, I am kind of inspired by Julius taking that level 2 hit. And I will also take a level 2 damage as well after reducing it using the boosted reactor. Get some parallels of these two blows that we've just taken. Julius is having an effect on Mike as much as it's happened the other way around as well.
No.
Mike's gritting his teeth and is saying, "It's funny you say that. I actually learnt an entirely different lesson than you, and I'm very disappointed, Slipaway. And to answer your question, how many of your friends died? Probably too many. CalazCon never should have taken that from you. There are a mutual enemy. I respect you. Oh, I did. But what you're talking now, you've lost sight of it. You've lost sight of it, Slipaway. But don't you worry, after I take that key from you, you'll still get paid. You can rock up on a beach and sip Mai Tais with your friends. Don't you worry about it, but you're losing this fight."
All right. What's the level 2 version of the severed?
Gouged.
Split.
Hamstrung?
Dead arm.
Let's go with dead arm. Yeah. Another lesson for you, Mike. The flamethrower is very impressive. However, incendiary weaponry can serve as a makeshift arming implement for explosive weaponry, which makes it harder to show up on sensors.
Oh, shit.
You get a warning message.
Says Mike.
There is something lodged in the barrel of your flamethrower, and then it detonates. Take the level 3 damage back blast.
So the flamethrower is actually, it's a makeshift flamethrower using my boosters. So is this in the bottom of the boosters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without, firing it, Slipaway Bolt puts a missile in the barrel of your booster.
Yeah. Which makes sense because I'm flying around, and this is the rival move. Okay, now I'm using a quirk. I'm going to use my high quality components quirk. This is once again using foiled again. Yeah, I think not only I've also got quick swap mounts as one of my other abilities. So I think what happens is just the very end. This is a segmented booster maybe, and I'm able to quick release this booster to fall off, so it explodes much further away from us.
Okay, yeah, that helps.
And so, yes, to negate a rival move.
Negate, so just no move for him.
Yeah.
Rival
great.
can make a move at no time.
It's
no time.
Well, it's limited by my quirks and stress, so it's not something I can pull out all of it. Basically what this fight. I think the way that this is, I know there's play and counterplay going on, but the way it's kind of seeming to me is in order to deal with Slipaway, because this is a thing with the Vector Mantis in general, with the weight saving, as fights go long, the weaker it kind of becomes because it has less tricks, and Slipaway is basically removing all of these resources that Mike won't have for the later parts of the battle in this kind of play and counterplay that they've got going on. It's a bit cat and mouse.
I'd like to throw my spear now.
Yes, sorry for the long digression. Yes, you have been set up.
So this is a battle with, I presume, -1 because I am melted.
Yep.
What is my position and effect?
Desperate limited, but you can use the setup to improve one of those.
Okay, I'd like to improve limited to standard. I'd like to use a quirk to get to 3 dice. The quirk that I'm going to be using, because I have no idea how else I'm going to do this, is Packed with Ordnance. Keen listeners may remember I am no longer packed with any ordnance whatsoever. So what this is the remaining rockets that were not discarded in the removal of the other mech from my mech. I set them off to give the spear a little bit of extra punch.
Nice. Okay.
So, GM, have fun with that if I don't roll a 6, because I'm exploding bombs on myself.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Cool.
Would Julius have wanted the bull part of the mech to have remained untouched, or would he allow for some kind of integration into your mech of some parts and things?
I think he would have wanted it untouched. I think he feels weird not having it. What if someone goes to the base and breaks it?
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, no. There was a potential bit there, but no, I think I like this as well, so that makes sense. Yeah, cool.
Dice 3. Yeah, that's it, I guess. That is a 6, and a 5, listener.
Symbolism. Mike gets attempted to be blown
Yeah.
up, flies away. The drones are out of the way and is just impaled into like a building with this spear. The symbolism. Oh, you shouldn't get your friends
right.
involved.
Yeah.
See the unfortunate slip away. The thing is, I trust my friends. Drops out of the way and the spear comes through and impales.
Right, Julius in Mike's comms, Michael, you don't have to talk to them so much.
Thanks for listening to CalazCon. This episode was edited and sound balanced by Christine Blight. You can reach her for voice acting at CVBlight@gmail.com. The show's music is by Devin Nelson. You can find them on all social media at Devin Decibel. If you'd like to support CalazCon, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/CalazCon. Please tell your friends about the show too. Remember, all glory to Calazar.